Hey y'all, welcome back as we continue through the book of Job together. And today we are moving into chapter 24, where Job continues his response to his friends. His emphasis and focus turns to those who are suffering around him. Rather than continually focusing on his own suffering, he notices how orphans and widows and other people need help, hope, and love and are not receiving it. In the middle of all the chaos of his life, he holds to hope in his promised Redeemer. His response is directed not just as Eliphaz as he continues his response in this section. It is actually more of a broad speech directed at all three of his worthless friends. He tells all three of them very clearly how perplexing God is to him. And we'll continue in verse 1 of chapter 24. Why doesn't the Almighty bring the wicked to judgment? Why must the godly wait for him in vain? Evil people steal land by moving the boundary markers. They steal livestock and put them in their own pastures. They take the orphan's donkey and demand the widow's ox as security for a loan. The poor are pushed off the path. The needy must hide together for safety. Like wild donkeys in the wilderness, the poor must spend all their time looking for food, searching even in the desert for food for their children. They harvest a field they do not own, and they glean in the vineyards of the wicked. All night they lie naked in the cold, without clothing or covering. They are soaked by mountain showers, and they huddle against the rocks for want of a home. The wicked snatch a widow's child from her breast, taking the baby as security for a loan. The poor must go about naked without any clothing. They harvest food for others while they themselves are starving. They press out olive oil without being allowed to taste it, and they tread in the winepress as they suffer from thirst. The groans of the dying rise from the city, and the wounded cry for help, yet God ignores their moaning. Wicked people rebel against the light. They refuse to acknowledge its ways or stay in its path. The murderer rises in the early dawn to kill the poor and needy. At night he is a thief. The adulterer waits for the twilight, saying, "No one will see me then." He hides his face so no one will know him. Thieves break into houses at night and sleep in the daytime. They are not acquainted with the light. The black night is their morning. They ally themselves with the terrors of the darkness, but they disappear like foam down a river. Everything they own is cursed, and they are afraid to enter their own vineyards. The grave consumes sinners, just as drought and heat consume snow. Their mothers will forget them. Maggots will find them sweet to eat. No one will remember them. Wicked people are broken like a tree in the storm. They cheat the woman who has no son to help her. They refuse to help the needy widow. God, in his power, drags away the rich. They may rise high, but they have no assurance of life. They may be allowed to live in security, but God is always watching them. And though they are great now, in a moment they will be gone like all others, cut off like heads of grain. Can anyone claim otherwise? Who can prove me wrong? So here Job lists several instances that he has witnessed in life that have appeared to go completely unpunished. Job contemplates why God doesn't have specific days set to hold court and hear people's complaints and give out judgments. Job complains that people are stealing land and animals. God states in Deuteronomy 27:17 that those who move landmarks and steal property would be cursed. But the wicked are doing it anyway. The weak are being mistreated and left in poverty. Wicked are causing chaos. He is asking his friends, if God is quick to judge the wicked, why hasn't he judged those who treat the poor so unjustly and inhumanely? He next voices his concern regarding murders, burglaries, and adultery taking place within the cities. People are literally killing each other and walking away as if nothing has ever happened. Job had never murdered anyone, yet his friends are accusing him of being under the judgment of God. Job asks his friends to prove him wrong in any of these observations, but they never do. Job has a sincere heart of holy anger against sin and injustice, and he brings all of these concerns to the Lord. Job desperately wants God to help those who are hurting. In the midst of his suffering, Job stops and he's able to look and see the suffering of others. Oftentimes, severe suffering can start to consume us and blind us of the needs of others around us, and we need to intentionally determine to look past ourselves to others, even in the midst of suffering. Job was concerned and he wanted God to help others who were hurting. Job's friends treated the suffering of others as an abstract concept, while Job viewed it from a personal perspective. He wanted his friends to look and see hurting people around them. Job empathizes with others even while he himself is suffering intensely. Job wanted to be a part of the solution in spite of the vastness of his very own suffering. He shows compassion and he cares. In the midst of suffering, we need to remember to take our eyes off ourselves and look at others around us, reach out and help others any way we can. As Christ followers, we are called to love God passionately and love others the same. This isn't a commission to be followed only when we are comfortable and feeling well and things are going extremely great. In the midst of sickness or loss, the Lord still desires that we bring hope to others around us. We never know just how God may use a situation and how He might move when we choose to take our eyes off of ourselves and our suffering and show someone else compassion and love, even in the midst of suffering. Even when we feel tired and worn out and like we have nothing left to offer, especially then, we need to pray. Let God move. Ask Him to strengthen you. Let Him move through us to others and let Him do the work through this vessel. God's grace is sufficient and will give us the strength that we need. We can choose to love others with the love of God, even through pain. It might even end up being the soothing ointment that we need for our souls to help us get us through the painful situations we may be enduring. Love God and love people well, no matter what, even if it hurts. God will come through. His light will shine. He will comfort. He will strengthen. He will encourage. He will soothe your soul. He is faithful, and His love is more than we can comprehend. He is trustworthy. He never fails. He knows and He sees, and He is on the throne, and He will remain on the throne, and He works on our behalf. Even while we're asleep, He delights in us. He sings songs over us. He is working. Will we rest in His presence? Rest in His presence and follow His lead. Let Him guide you. Trust His lead. Love Him passionately. Pursue Jesus. Cling to Him with all of your God's heart and soul, and love the people around us well as well, out of that love of God. Thanks, Dale. I hope you're having a glorious day in the Lord.